So, Caitlin Clark will be appearing on the Bird and Taurasi show. That is the Diana Taurasi folks in a segment that they are covering for the Women's NCAA Finals Championship of UConn versus South Carolina tomorrow. So no, your ears doth not deceive you, because Caitlin Clark will be appearing on the Bird and Taurasi show as part of some color commentary that Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird are doing for ESPN2 as they are covering the Women's NCAA Finals Championship game. And by the way, if you did not see the Final Four, I mean, to be honest, the games weren't that great as UConn blew out UCLA. There were tears. I was just in my feels about Lauren Betts at the end of the game. I felt so bad for her, and UConn kind of just wiped the floor with UCLA, and South Carolina also did beat Texas. I made a video about it, about my predictions, and it kind of worked out exactly the way that I thought. I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought the same way too. So this isn't an I told you so moment, but let's get back to the subject. Oh, and I also did want to cover Kelsye Mitchell going on a podcast and talking about Caitlin Clark at the very end. It's not a lot, but it's really cute. It's about, how she respects her and, understands and talks about how gracious she is and how she dealt with her college NIL brand deal stuff, yada yada. But anyway, back to the Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi segment. So in the middle of their broadcast, Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi did announce that they were going to have Caitlin Clark on the show. This will be Caitlin Clark's second appearance on the show, but first time as a professional WNBA athlete. And I think a lot of fans were surprised by Diana Taurasi's comments after Sue Bird had announced that Caitlin Clark would be on the show. She talked about how Caitlin's grown, and she even said, boy, Caitlin's great.
Guys, we're going to come back on Sunday. We're here for the final. We've got Caitlin Clark joining the show. This will be Caitlin's second time.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice to have her back as a pro. She was a college kid.
She was a college kid.
She was a college kid back then. So now we got to get professional.
Caitlin's grown.
Caitlin has grown.
Boy, Caitlin's amazing.
Yeah, Caitlin has grown. So we're excited for that.
And the reason this is kind of surprising to a lot of people is that you might remember Diana Taurasi from such comments as reality is coming. And if you don't know the history behind that, Diana Taurasi and actually Sue Bird were on an ESPN broadcast, and sports commentator Scott Van Pelt asked Diana Taurasi's opinion on how he feels that Clark and the other rookies would fare entering the WNBA from college. Diana Taurasi basically said, reality is coming, of which she expanded on that and said that there's levels to this. And that basically was saying that she mentioned how you can play against 18-year-olds when you're 24 and you can look great. But once you enter that next level and you take that leap into the pros, you're going to be playing against grown women, and it's a totally different ballgame. And boy, did that catch like wildfire. A lot of Caitlin Clark fans thought that Taurasi was diminishing Caitlin Clark's ability to accomplish things and any sort of dominance that she might have that would translate over from her college career into the pros. As in college, nobody was doing what Caitlin Clark was doing. And the thing is nobody was doing the things Caitlin Clark was doing at the WNBA level too. And I think that because it has been such a significant change for so many people, Taurasi just kind of assumed, it's going to be hard for her too. And I think the first month or two of the WNBA season, Caitlin Clark was definitely getting acclimated, playing with new teammates, developing new chemistry. She had the toughest schedule of the entire league, of the entire league over many years, because they were scheduling her against the best teams because this is my opinion, but I feel like the WNBA knew the hype behind Caitlin Clark, and so they wanted to schedule her against good teams so that when people were tuned in to watch Caitlin Clark, they would see all these great players as well. But I'm telling you, after the All-Star break, I think that Caitlin Clark started garnering a lot of respect from her WNBA teammates, from people on other teams, because they just realized like she was the real deal. She was reality. And Scott Van Pelt himself, according to this tweet, 5 months later, walked back those statements and said that she is reality. Now, do I think that there is any animosity between Caitlin Clark and Diana Taurasi? No, I don't. I think that they're two professionals. They play on the court. There have been hugs between them. Diana Taurasi actually did compliment Caitlin Clark's play in a few interviews. I know that Caitlin Clark sat down in a Nike interview. I can't remember exactly what she said, and I can't remember exactly the question, but it was along the lines of like, who would you want to play with? Well, like, what kind of legend would you want to play with? And her answer was Diana Taurasi. And if you guys don't know, Diana Taurasi did announce her retirement on February 26th, and she is not coming back to the WNBA next season. Caitlin Clark did have a response to that, as a lot of people were responding to that, because honestly, Diana Taurasi is an icon. She has done so much for the game. She has been on the same Mercury Phoenix team since the day she was drafted over 20 years ago, and people were just like, you know, there was a lot of sadness. There was a lot of like, congratulations on, you know, your next like phase of life type of thing. But Caitlin Clark's remark, one word, legend. And she posted this to her Instagram. And it was pretty classy. And I'm sure that as a kid, Caitlin Clark was watching Diana Taurasi. I'm sure when she got on the court with her and actually got to play with her, she was pretty honored because she's just that type of person. Now, I don't see them having hung out off the court or being like best friends or anything, but I do think that there is just not enough there to really like have like a rivalry in real life or anything like that. Even on the court, I didn't really see them as having a rivalry. And I genuinely think that especially once they reached the All-Star break, a lot of people in the league, probably most anybody that played Caitlin Clark, started like garnering a certain amount of respect because she was doing things that, you know, nobody else was doing. She set the assist record for, and not just for a rookie, for anybody. She set the points record for a rookie. I mean, the records that she set, like, I would be going on forever and ever, and you'd probably like click off this video. And I don't think that they're enemies, and I don't think that they're frenemies. I think that they're pretty decent people, and I, for one, am pretty excited to see Caitlin Clark watch UConn. I mean, I don't know if they know that like Paige is supposed to be her next rival in the league, which not that I want that to happen. It's just going to happen. And, you know, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of discussions if Paige does get the natty about who's better now. And, you know, I don't think it is even a question that Caitlin Clark just does things that you don't see. Paige Beckers is an amazing player, but, you know, I gotta just give this one to Caitlin. I won't be talking about it that much because honestly, it's not worth getting into that conversation. Unless something like really interesting happens, somebody has an interesting take, then I'll like comment on it. So I'm just excited to see her on the show, and I'm also very excited to see UConn play SC, and I just don't think that there is anybody that's going to be able to beat UConn. I mean, you know, crazier things have happened, and UConn is going to have to definitely play a different style of game than they played against the UCLA team because South Carolina is just way more defense-minded. Anyway, on to the Kelsye Mitchell segment. So Kelsye was on the Sports for Fun podcast, and she was asked about what she thought about the transfer portal, and specifically what she thought about Olivia Miles entering the transfer portal. And this is what she said.
You just talked about being very loyal, especially in like your fever.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on
It's
transfer
a blurred line. I think for me, because I still play,
right.
I'm still like actively in it. And I get to see, like, I was fortunate enough to see, like, Caitlin and the experience that she got from it and even, like, learn to just watch it, like, damn, this shit is crazy. I actually just getting paid millions for this. You know, you don't believe it. Like, you don't believe it, I promise you. I just, like, and I grew to respect people like Caitlin because she handled it so gracefully, like, the process, because it gets overwhelming.
100%.
So the thing with Olivia, I'm sure whatever she decided to do, I'm going to say that it was for her and what she needed for her career. But I hope consciously that they make decisions based on what they need for themselves.
Yeah.
And I say that humbly, not all money is good money.
And basically, she was talking about like her admiration for how Caitlin Clark handles all these like NIL deals, which are name, image, likeness. And if you don't know, NIL is something that was not allowed, and like nobody, college athletes were not allowed to get paid for their name, image, and likeness, but a lot of people thought that they were being taken advantage of, so they changed that law actually and reinstated the ability for college athletes to use their name, image, and likeness and get paid for it. And Caitlin Clark is one of the biggest beneficiaries. She's actually the biggest female college basketball player beneficiary of NIL deals, raking in $3.1 million in her college career. And I think Kelsye Mitchell was just like super flabbergasted because she had not had that opportunity. Even though she was a big star at Ohio State, they just didn't have those laws in place when she was there. And so she said she was just like, wow, this is like crazy. And I think that she recognized that the pressure that comes with being partnered with like big, huge companies like Nike and Gatorade and Wilson Basketball, you have to maintain like a certain public image. Anything you do can have negative consequences, and that can really be stressful. But Caitlin Clark hasn't faltered, and she has handled everything like a champ. I think the best thing for someone of her stature to do is to kind of like keep to yourself, keep the people close to you, and block out the noise. And by the way, I thought that maybe I should announce that I am actually collaborating with Women's Fast Break on SI and covering the Indiana Fever as a contributing writer. That is Robin Lundberg's column that he partnered with Sports Illustrated. It's been keeping me busy and on my toes, and I'll figure out a way to link the sites to the articles, and you can also go to my Twitter, and I will also be updating that. I haven't updated that yet, but I do post very often to Twitter a lot of like what's going on, a lot of the news. I'm pretty casual about it, but if you are interested, go ahead and follow me on Twitter. And I don't do this very often, but if you did enjoy the video, go ahead and give it a like or a thumbs up, whatever you want to call it. And if you aren't following and you want to follow, please do so. If you didn't like the content, I'm okay with that too. And I really wanted to do a recap of the Final Four games. I don't think that there's going to be time, but I will be watching the championship tomorrow, and I will 100% make a video about it the next day, which will be Monday. If you're interested in what I thought about the games, basically I thought that UConn, covered their bets. I think that UCLA is dominated by Lauren Betts. I don't think that the rest of the team are at the level that the UConn players are, and UConn is peaking at the right time. I hate to sound like everybody else. Everybody's been saying that, but they absolutely are. And that's what separates championship teams from non-championship teams, is like really hustling in these final moments of the season. I think the turnovers absolutely killed UCLA. I think that they were just super frazzled. I think UConn's ball movement, I think that they had mismatches and they were like confusing UCLA with like switching on the screens. The UConn freshman, Jana El Alfi, was actually covering Lauren Betts, and Sarah Strong was like doing a lot of perimeter and mid-range shots, and she scored 22, the highest scoring points of the game or for any player. And AZ Fudd scored 19 in the first half. She was scoreless in the second half, but I mean, she was on fire in the first half. And Paige Beckers, she wasn't as efficient as she usually is, but she also came away with 16 points, and she had this really cool touch pass to Caitlin Chen. Those are just like top line notes off the top of my head, but if you are interested, I will be making a video Monday, and I will see you then.